Hey, this is Lee. I want to do a quick video, should only take a couple minutes, about reading and studying the way we're supposed to, not just reading the Bible like a novel, not just going through the book like you're reading Little House on the Prairie or whatever, but reading the Bible the way it was intended to be read. And most people really, they say they know it, but then they kind of don't. And when I sit down and talk to them, we start discussing this, we find out that they really don't read it the way they're supposed to. So let's go through it. The other day I was reading Luke 17. I went down through here, temptations of sin, increasing your faith, unworthy servant, cleansing Jesus cleanses 10 lepers, the kingdom of the coming of the kingdom. And I got down here where he's talking about this, and I was reading this, and I was just going through it one line at a time, one verse at a time, one word at a time, literally. And I got to 17:25. But first must he suffer many things and be rejected by who? This generation. Key word in that verse, this generation. So see, there's a power part of that verse. So you got to break down the scriptures and then meditate on what you just read. How does that apply? Well, the whole story? Look at the whole thing, not just but stop because there's treasures of information if you read this one word at a time. And let's go on. He said, and as it was in the days of who? Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. One verse at a time, one word at a time. And they did eat and drink and married wives and were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, drink, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. So what most people don't get is the old church, way back when they said married wives and given in marriage, they thought that meant you were married 4 wives or 5 wives. That's not what he's saying, because that's out of context. If you take Luke 27 and 28 right here, take both of these, he's talking about they went through everyday things. They were cooking, cleaning, they went to work, they came home, they mowed the grass, whatever, and he's not talking about those things. He's talking about, if you keep it in context, they were just going through everyday life when these events happened. These events happened. So people read that out of context, and in the old church, that's how they got mixed up in their doctrine, because they didn't break the scriptures down. In 29, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed all. Even thus shall it be in the day that the Son of Man is revealed. Now, if you go on down here, I was reading this, and I come to this one thing, and I come to 32 right here. Remember Lot's wife. And then he just goes on back into the same story. But I think the value of this, keeping it in context of this chapter, you have to look right here, because he says a huge statement. Remember Lot's wife. And then he just leaves it hanging, and then he goes on to 33, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. Whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. And he just goes right on. But most people, reading like a novel, would skip right over some of these important parts, like rain, fire, and brimstone from where? Heaven. What was the results? Destroyed all. 30, even thus shall it be in the days of when the Son of Man is revealed. Son of Man revealed. See, there's power parts of these verses, and you have to read them to get the power right there. Because if you're just reading it, blah, 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 you're missing everything. You're not catching the important parts. Like I said, in 32, he comes down and he says, remember Lot's wife. Boom. There's the power. Because Lot's wife represented what he's talking about. Yes, that's the power part of it. So this is what this video is about. Keeping scriptures in context. In order to do that, you have to read the whole chapter. Sometimes more than one chapter, or 3 or 4, because you don't want to be a cherry picker. Like in the old days, they just pull something out, and then they would use that for 50 different reasons. But see, we have to use it the way Jesus used it, keeping things in context The Bible in context helps us to understand the messages that Jesus is giving, what God's giving to the world. That's my video today. Remember, I love you with all my heart. There are treasures in the Word. If we slow down, read one verse at a time, one word at a time, meditate on it, think about it, scoot the book back and say, okay, now let me think about this. Ask the Lord to reveal to you what He's trying to say and what He's saying. Show me, Lord. Show me in Jesus' name. Show me what this word is saying. At the end of the day, at the end of your reading, you're going to understand more about the Bible than anybody else. This is not just for beginners, but it's also for older people like myself that have been reading the Bible for a quarter of a century or more. We think we know it, so we just blah, 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 with the understanding, but we have to stop too and say, wait a minute, what does this mean? I pick up new tidbits all the time. After a quarter of a century of reading, there's things I just overlooked or I skipped or I just didn't pray about it. Remember this as you're reading and studying. I love you with all my heart. Everybody. I love everybody. There's not one person on this earth before, now, or to come that I will meet that I don't love. I've got no ought against anybody. My heart is pure in love to everyone. Stop back, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications, and we'll be back with more. Probably today because my mind's just racing. I love you. Have a great day. Bye.